It's my nerd world, and welcome to it, Depeche Mode, the podcast, with a breaking news episode ahead of tomorrow's much-anticipated press conference in Berlin. We have album and tour details leaked, but I'm here to share them with you on this very special episode.
My nerd world.
Welcome to it, Depeche Mode, the podcast, and I am your host, Jon Justice. So excited to sit behind the microphone today to share with you the details that came out, I believe, prematurely as it relates to tomorrow's much-anticipated press conference that's supposed to take place and will take place in Berlin, 6 a.m. Central Time here in America. I will let you extrapolate where that is in your part of the country or the world. I just know that I'm going to be 5 minutes away from going on the air to do my weekly radio show Monday through Friday here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, when this press conference takes place, and that's going to kill me as I go to do my professional job that this press conference will be taking place live, and I will not be able to watch it. So I wanted to make sure that I got the details out ahead of the press conference that just were leaked out over the course of the past few hours. If you're anything like me, and I'll say this up front as we get into the details, and I'll just, and I don't know if you're like me or not, but for me, especially when it comes to Depeche Mode, when we get information about new music coming out, tour details, of which I'll share here, I want to consume Depeche Mode. I want to listen to the music. I want to go back and listen to past interviews. More importantly, I want to hear what other fans are saying with regard to this new information. And unfortunately, there are a few other podcasts out there, but there isn't a lot to find. My go-to source, as I've mentioned many times on the show, has been Depeche-mode.com and the Halo forum. So I've been frantically refreshing the forum and reading comments from other fans over the information that we received this morning. So let me give you the details of how this whole thing rolled out for me personally, and we'll dive into what is now being reported, which is actually quite a bit of detail. So this morning, as I'm doing the show, right as I wrapped up the show about 9 o'clock Central Time, here in America, here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I'm subscribed to several different Twitter accounts. Depeche Mode SK was one that I turned notifications on. They had been teasing over the course of the past few days. Depeche Mode fans will learn to speak backwards. Depeche Mode fans will learn Latin. Well, now we know why. The first item that I saw was a photograph of a brand new tour poster in Berlin. It was a photograph, which I'm going to assume, a black and white picture taken by Anton Corbijn. It looks to be Anton's work. And it has a new Depeche Mode logo, black and gray and red. And underneath the logo itself, it had Depeche with red lettering with black inside the D, and then the mode was backwards with a similar style on the M, and then underneath it was Memento Mori, and also including a date for a date in March of 2023, and it says World Tour on it. Now, my heart soared at seeing this first official, doing that thing with my fingers, the first official release from the band. Seeing the first official photograph of Dave and Martin. And it's both exciting and a bit bittersweet, seeing that this band, this beloved band that we all love, down to its two core members, after, through the course of many, many years, Alan Wilder going away, of course, Vince Clarke before that, and then it goes without saying, the untimely passing of Andrew Fletcher and Fletch. But still, to see this is happening. We knew it was happening. They've been teasing this press conference now for about a week. We got a new tease this morning, no audio to go along with it, along with the other teases that have come out over the weekend, a small video of about, I think, 15 seconds showing some production boards and meters going, and then what looks to be an extension, if not a video, of Martin and Dave speaking to each other. It looks to be an extension of the photograph that was taken. That was shared by them officially, obviously, but I'm looking at official promotional work here, showing the two of them working together, most likely on a new song. Shortly after that was an official photograph of Martin and Dave, as I mentioned, and then we got official details that many are speculating online was leaked prematurely, but here it is. Depeche Mode announced new tour dates after 5-year touring hiatus. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Class of 2020 inductees Depeche Mode announced today at a special event. So this is the first I've read this, by the way. I'm reading this fresh. So clearly this was leaked a day early. Announced today at a special event in Berlin, which is actually going to be taking place tomorrow, and I will have a podcast later in the day tomorrow, that they will be releasing a new album and embarking on a world tour in 2023. The Memento Mori Tour will support the band's 15th studio album, Memento Mori, due out in spring of 2023. Then gives details of securing your priority tickets now. Dave Gahan and Martin Gore revealed today that the Live Nation presented tour will begin with a special limited series of North American arena dates starting March 23rd before the band heads to Europe for their summer stadium tour. These limited North American dates will feature stops at New York's Madison Square Garden, Chicago's United Center, Los Angeles' Kia Forum, and Toronto's Scotiabank Arena, among others. The band will then begin a European stadium tour on May 16th, with noted stops including the Stade de France in Paris, Berlin's Olympic Stadium, confirming a lot of the rumors that we've been hearing for a while, Milan, and in London. The Memento Mori tour will be Depeche Mode's 19th tour, and their first in over 5 years. The band's most recent outing was the 2017-2018 Global Spirit Tour, was its longest to date, and was one of the year's highest grossing tours, with the band playing more than 3 million fans over the course of 130 shows across Europe and North America. And then it gives more details about the on sale of the tickets. All right, so this is all we know officially so far. So this is where my speculation comes in. First off, let's start with the title of the album and the title of the tour. The Latin phrase Memento Mori literally means remember that you must die. The phrase has its origins in ancient Rome, where it is believed that slaves accompanying generals on victory parades whispered the words as a reminder of their commander's mortality to prevent them from being consumed by hubris, excessive pride, self-confidence. The concept has become a familiar trope in the visual arts from the medieval period to the present. Now, how does this relate to Depeche Mode's 15th album remains to be seen. Obviously, the immediate reference calls to mind the passing of Fletch. But I'm very interested to see what this means for the music in and of itself. I assume that's the most obvious statement, right? Considering that the album titles don't necessarily always coincide with the content completely. In some cases they do, in some cases they don't. Ultra Violator being cases in which they don't. I would say that Songs of Faith and Devotion being a case where they do. Spirit, I would argue, even though that is in one of the songs on the album, it doesn't really speak, in my opinion, to the totality of the content of the album. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Memento Mori is going to speak to the content of the album. I didn't expect Depeche Mode to do another politically tinged release. And again, just pure speculation on my part. They tend to want to do something different when they create each album. And obviously with the passing of Fletch, I had speculated that depending on how long into the process they were in terms of recording, and who knows if they're finished yet. I suppose we'll find out. They could be still recording at this point in time. I imagine that this album is going to be somewhat darker than perhaps we have gotten from the band in quite a long time. On a personal level, for me, if you've been listening to the show at all, along with the passing of Fletch, shortly after that, I lost my best friend on June 25th while I was in the hospital recovering from open heart surgery. And so for me personally, and it's just the way that Depeche Mode always touches our lives, right? This remember that you must die, memento mori, is already something that is meaningful to me and has me again excited for this release, but also on a level of, and I've been feeling this way, for the course of the past week as we've been getting these teases that, I could really use some new Depeche Mode in my life. And so my curiosity is piqued, and I expect that this album is going to mean a lot to me personally. And obviously for you, the fan, I think it's already instantly going to mean that just because of the loss of the founding member in Fletch. So it goes without saying that I am excited. Cannot wait to hear what it is that the band has in store in terms of the, how sonically this release is going to sound. Until we get to tomorrow, and I am anticipating without any evidence that we will get some snippet of what the tracks will be sounding like on this release. Until tomorrow, we won't really know, what's in store. I am, if you were to ask me, what am I hoping for? Not that I want to see Depeche Mode turn back the clock. I would like to see something fresher than the electronic blues route they've been taking. I personally would love a return to something closer to Violator and Songs of Faith and Devotion, if only because those albums are incredibly special to me, but it's also the music that I like. Ultimately, I would like to see something heavy on the electronics and a little less on the live instruments. But it would be wrong of me to speculate without knowing. And also, I think the other big question that hopefully we'll get an answer to tomorrow is who's going to be producing this release. So tomorrow, that's the expectation, at least for me, since the details of the tour in and of itself of what the announcement is going to be tomorrow at the press conference. But I wholly expect that we'll get some sampling of the songs. We will know a bit of the musical direction the album is taking, and hopefully we'll find out who ended up producing this record. And I will say too that clearly Alan Wilder's not back. It's something I don't talk about on the show very much because I'm not one that ever expected that Alan Wilder was going to return to the band, nor was it something that I really desired that much. I mean, would have been great. Would I have celebrated it? Absolutely. But, I think that Depeche Mode is what Depeche Mode is now. And I never had any big expectation that Alan would go and return to the band. And I imagine that when they set out on tour, we'll have Christian Eiger and Peter Gordino out there, and perhaps somebody else to fill in the role for Fletch. So, thank you so much for checking out this breaking news podcast. That's about all that I got. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and take, I'll pause the show just briefly. You won't know. I'll pause the show just briefly and do a quick run through over at Depeche-Mode.com and the Halo forum to see if any new information's been posted. So, the ClashMusic.com website that posted the details that I've just shared with you has yanked that page down. So, it's here. I've read it to you, but it's no longer available online. The only thing new that I was able to find out was that it is official that this is a studio album. And I'm only confirming that from the standpoint that there was some speculation without any evidence that maybe this was some kind of retrospective or a reworking of older tracks. And this really does seem like an official, full Depeche Mode release with a tour. And one thing that while I was looking over some of the comments up on the Halo forum just to see what other people were saying, there's a lot of speculation on who the producer of the album might be. And again, I think we'll get that information tomorrow. This, in my mind, considering the fact that we've got official logos, we've got a tour announcement, this is a full studio album, I can't imagine the band put something together in the time of Fletch's passing until now. So we had heard from the band members, including Fletch, before he passed, that they were all working on material. And so I think the speculation surrounding how this all played out probably was along the lines of the band has been working together for some time on new material leading up to the passing of Fletch, and then the album's completion, or close to completion, and perhaps it's not fully done yet, took place after Fletch's passing. So, again, I imagine we'll get more details on during this press conference tomorrow, and I will be back with another podcast at that time. In the meantime, between now and then, if you would like to reach out with your thoughts, TalkShowNerd at gmail.com. You can also find me at an easier address, the Jon, Jon Justice, the Jon Justice at gmail.com. Either one of those works. Typically, I go with TalkShowNerd at gmail.com. If you happen to be listening via the clip on YouTube, you can also leave a comment up on YouTube. Before I let you go fully, I do have some more feedback that I want to share with you. So let's go ahead and get to that now. Sorry, the podcast is a little scattered today. I did this completely on a whim. I got home from work, I dealt with a few things, grabbed the information I had, threw it in notes on my computer, and just basically started going. So you may be listening going, this is how all your podcasts sound, John, and in which case I would go, yeah, you're probably right. So it was interesting because Grey Room on YouTube had reached out with a March 30th, 2023 date in Vegas, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, did they list Vegas on here? So Vegas is not listed on the official release. However, Grey Room says they used to work for Bill Graham Presents in the 90s, and they were part of a team that helped book shows in the Bay Area. And this was exactly what Peter T.O.O. Peter 2, who's been following the band, you can follow him on Twitter on the Halo forum. These venues are booked to 6 to 12 months in advance, so my guess is this is legit. So, it's not listed, again, in the North American feature stops, but there is a date out there of March 30th, 2023 in Vegas, which would certainly coincide with the North American tour starting on March 23rd. So you might have an exclusive here on the show that if you are in the Las Vegas, Nevada area, March 30th of 2023 could be your Las Vegas date. Also, Stephanie wrote, I am as excited as you. I know the press conference will be in Berlin. Never believed in fake news when people talked to me about it. I relied on you and your podcast. John knows what he's talking about. I believe in him. I hope you apologize that. Right now, I'm prepared for new music. I want Dave and Martin to show that Depeche Mode is still alive and not gone with Fletch, and certainly that's happening. I want to know which influence the sadly, the passing of Fletch had on their music. I'm keen on knowing how the artwork will look like. Sure, from Anton Corbijn, I hope. And I do like the art direction. I mean, the font seems to be simpler than what we've received the last few times. Although I did like the art direction of Spirit. I'm not going to lie. I was somewhat disappointed with Delta Machine, but I did like what they put together, the cohesiveness of what they put together for Spirit. Although I am surprised that so far it's black and gray and red again, which is, right in line with what they did for Spirit. Stephanie goes on to say, I will love everything that's coming. So I am wishing you all the best. I hope you are doing well and your health is going to be better. It is. At last, I hope you apologize my school English. Hopefully you understand most of it. Thank you a lot for your podcast. Greetings from Germany, Stephanie. Thank you very much, Stephanie. I appreciate it. And then we heard from Michael E. Tennant, who I've been following on Twitter. So thank you, Michael. He writes, and I agreed with him on this prior to the information. What's weird about this is that there's been absolutely no word until very recently. I just assumed they weren't even in the studio, but they must have been. They'd never been the greatest at keeping everyone informed. And I felt the same way, but it seems pretty clear that the band has been working on material for quite some time, and I imagine tomorrow at the press conference we'll get confirmation on whether or not the album is completely finished, or if there's still work to do. All right, so before I let you go, if you're newer to the show, this is a shameless self-promotion time. I don't do Patreon. I've never done Patreon for my podcasts. But I do ask that if you enjoy reading science fiction, I hope you'll check out my EMBARK science fiction space opera series. You clearly like Depeche Mode, and Depeche Mode was a part of my inspiration for writing this series, along with my love of Star Wars. So I hope you'll treat yourself, a friend, or a family member with science fiction. This is written for adults, but it's great for ages 11 plus. I'm 50. The book is filled with all types of musical references, including a lot of stuff relating to Depeche Mode. It's available in hardcover, paperback, and audiobook on Amazon.com or mynerdworld.net. Set in the future, where air and spaceflight culture has replaced car culture, again, inspired in part by Depeche Mode. They play a large part in the underlying themes of the story, love, loss, that type of thing. The main character himself is a massive Depeche Mode fan at a time when the music of the 1980s through 2000s is nostalgic and popular among the characters. I was very inspired by Ready Player One, and I took a very Ready Player One approach to injecting my love of alternative rock, especially of the 1990s, into the story. It does feature references to Depeche Mode, both direct and indirect, while telling an exciting sci-fi space opera saga. In Book 1, Taft has found something and humanity won't survive without it. The only thing that matters to Taft Guardia, as much as his beloved ship, and Depeche Mode, is fellow pilot Keith Amaro. He'll need both more than he can imagine when a freak industrial accident sends the planet spiraling toward the apocalypse. Death is everywhere. Taft soon finds himself unwittingly attached to an emerging galactic conflict as factions form and battle lines are drawn during the global evacuation. Earth's evacuees face annihilation and will push man and machine to their limits. Yet, having uncovered what may be the key to their survival, Taft might be humanity's last hope for survival among the stars. Don't miss this fast-paced and action-packed space opera sci-fi series. If you like your science fiction to be epic, filled with a little bit of romance and action, EMBARK is perfect for you. 7 books in all tells the complete story of the series. And again, all starting with book 1, available at mynerdworld.net or amazon.com, wherever you are on this planet. Look for EMBARK and Jon Justice. All right, that wraps up the show. I'm going to go make lunch, figure out what Depeche Mode thing I'm going to watch. Maybe 101. I've been working through the remastered edition documentaries as of late. Those are so enjoyable. Plus the box set from Sounds of the Universe. The films on that are fantastic. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Can't wait to hear the press conference and hopefully new music from Depeche. Until then, I hope wherever you are happy, you're healthy, you're as excited as I am, and you are safe. Bye.
My Nerd World.